Ladies and gentlemen, our next session is Sendai Framework Monitoring in Africa, the status and way forward. This session provides for introspection and retrospection. Now, we understand the value there is in measuring progress and where we are, but we also understand the value of evaluating how good we are at measuring our progress and also what we can do better going forward. And that is what this session offers. Now, we have 5 speakers for this session, and they will be introduced shortly. For now, allow me now to introduce the moderator of this session, who is Ms. Diana Patricia Mosquera. She's a program manager with the UNDRR Regional Office for Africa. Ms. Diana, you're welcome.
I would like to note that interpretation is available in French and English. In addition, our event will include a dedicated session of questions and answers that we won't be able to have at the end of the session, but I will encourage all the attendees to write their questions and comments in the chat so that we can address them during the session with the panelists. In order to set the scene for today's discussion, we would like to start with a presentation which will give an overview of the progress that has been made towards the monitoring and reporting of the 7 global targets in sub-Saharan Africa. We also would like to look at what is needed to accelerate data collection and reporting in the region. To do that, let me invite Mr. Amjad Abashar, the Regional Director of UNDRR Regional Office for Africa, to welcome us and take the floor to give us this overall sense of where we stand, Mr. Abashar, in Sendai Framework Monitor in the region. Thank you very much, Mr. Abashar. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Diana. And just to let me join you in welcoming other colleagues who are online. It's a pleasure for me to be here and to maybe just say a few words to begin the discussion on the status of the Sendai Framework progress in Africa. I'd like to do that by actually going through a PowerPoint presentation just to maybe share with you a little bit on the status. If you could just put that up, please, for me. Very good. Okay. Let's begin with the next slide, please. The first slide here. I'll just move it. No, that's not it. Very good. Thank you very much. I think let's begin. I think we have made rather satisfactory progress. It started slow, but we're beginning to make satisfactory progress in having countries report, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, on the Sendai Framework Monitor. The number of countries reporting on the monitor is increasing since the adoption of the Sendai framework in 2015. To date, we have about 28 countries that are reporting, and 18 of these countries have actually validated some of the targets of the indicators. As you know, we're looking at reporting on, in the first instance, on the 7 targets of the Sendai framework 1 to 7. So we're also, not only are they reporting, but we're also increasing the numbers of countries that are validating data, and that's also increasing. And only this year we've had 5 countries that have validated their reporting in the Sendai framework. Now, if we go to the next slide, I'm trying to go there. Okay, maybe you can help me move to the next slide. Yeah, very good. Okay, now looking at the progress from, let's say, from the year 2019 to 2021, we are seeing new countries are joining the reporting. Even though progress is slowing down, you'll see from this chart that our highest year of reporting was in 2017 with 22 countries, 2017 and 2018 with 22 countries reporting. But at towards the end of 2020, the trend started to go down. nonetheless, many countries have been working on collecting and collating data to ensure that they have a baseline upon which to report. It's not clear to me, to us, why this trend is going down, but it might have to do with institutional capacities and the importance of sharing, maybe not getting enough sharing of data and information among the various institutions. Now, if we go to the next slide. All right. Now, when we look at them by target, we see that by target, or the 7 target, we say that while reporting is increasing for all targets with varying levels of improvement, we have also between 2020 and 2021, we are seeing a greater progress in reporting against target E, on which is the one about national and local strategies, and which is important in the sense that the deadline for target E was in 2020. So I think that led to sort of a fury of reporting by some of the member states. Interestingly enough, also there's increasing reporting for target G, which is quite important in Africa because it's about early warning systems, and there's a lot of work that's happening between us, the African Union, sub-regional organizations, to strengthen regional, sub-regional early warning mechanisms. So that's interesting, and it shows where the priority is, where the demand for DRR support is, and it looks like it's going towards early warning. Target F on international cooperation, unfortunately, still no progress on that. It's difficult, it's challenging, because people need to do risk-sensitive budget reviews to understand better not only their domestic financing towards the DRR, but also for international cooperation, and that a system needs to be put in place to ensure that we're able to get a better understanding on that. Finally, as has always been the case, countries reporting on target A on mortality and target B on affected people continues to be the best or the highest, having the highest reporting on it. Now, if we go to the next slide. Now, what have we done in 2021? Just some quick achievements for you. We've added new features to the Sendai Framework Monitor. You're able to download the data. You can generate progress reports automatically. In March, we reached the first reporting milestone of the year. And interestingly enough about that is member states have been able to report on COVID-19. It's been furthermore included in their reporting. In July, the launch of the Sendai Framework Monitor regional module has been done, and this is quite important because it's work that we worked on in the African Union Commission, and it will facilitate reporting on additional Africa-specific targets, 5 targets that have been determined by the African Union Commission, and its member states have selected 5 targets that deal with specifically with African circumstances. So that has been launched in July, and we look forward to populating that. Just a reminder that in 2020 was the deadline for target E I mentioned, and we have 24 countries that have reported on target E and having a strategy. And in September, the second reporting milestone for the year 2020 was completed, and most of the reporting was on target E. Now, there is increasing and diversifying support that we're providing to Sendai Framework Focal Point through Sendai Framework letters, through flyers, and also we're supporting Sendai Framework Focal Points through monthly meetings, and we continue providing updates to the system. Now, as we look into the future, in December, 7th to 8th December, there'll be a technical forum on Sendai Framework Monitoring, which will be virtual. It will be focusing on how to use Sendai Framework data to inform decision makers, so it just doesn't sit there. And in 2022, we'll be training on target G custom indicators to measure the effectiveness of early warning systems. There's project in the Southwest Indian Ocean and West Africa through CRUISE and other partners that will enable us to strengthen support to target G and early warning. Now, just to leave you with just a few key messages, it's important that we increase the number of countries reporting on data on the SFM, and we also need to enhance reporting, in particular on the baseline data when it comes to target F, which is the international cooperation that I mentioned earlier is quite still needs a lot of work. There's a need to enhance disaggregation of data. This has been a chronic problem, and we need to work with governments and stakeholders to disaggregate the disaster loss data by region, by age, by gender and income, and in order to enable us to identify where the most vulnerable are and ensure that no one is left behind. And of course, finally, it's very important to coordinate with the different stakeholders to exchange disaster data. This remains a challenge. I mentioned earlier that we need to bring in all those who have the data, national statistics offices, etc., and work together to support the disaster reduction or Sendai framework focal points to ensure that their data that is reported is enriched as we go forward. And I thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Let me stop there and hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Amjad, for this overview. We joined you in recognizing the work that has been done in the region to enhance reporting and also highlighting the challenges that we have in front of us. And we welcome all the colleagues to take note of the upcoming events to continue this interesting discussion on the reporting process in the region. I will move now to our next panelist, building on what Amjad has mentioned on the work that has been done to report on the 5 additional targets of the POA and the launch of the regional module in July. And for us, we have today with us Madam Nonsa Dube, which is a policy officer of the African Union Commission that will let us know a little bit more on the 5 additional targets and the reporting process of the POA. Mrs. Dube, the floor is yours.
Thank you, moderator, for giving me the floor, and thank you everyone for taking the time to be here. My presentation is going to focus mostly on the regional module of the Sendai Framework Monitor. Can you go to the next? Okay. Okay, the structure of the presentation is basically, I'm going to give a background, and then I'm going to focus on the regional module contribution to regional reporting and also the status of reporting so far on the regional module in the Sendai Monitor. And then there will be recommendations to improve regional reporting and then the way forward in terms of regional reporting on the Sendai Framework Monitor and on the biennial report. So in terms of background, okay, I cannot, okay, thank you so much. It was not very. So in terms of the background, in 2018, the high-level ministerial meeting adopted the monitoring and reporting framework for the POA and requested the AUC to develop a biennial report based on this monitoring and reporting framework. And then there were meetings that were held between the AUC and the UNTRR, one of which was the 2018 meeting held in Bonn on the role of regional organizations. And it was agreed that the POA additional targets be incorporated in the Sendai Framework Monitor. And this request to incorporate the regional module into the Sendai Framework Monitor was made by member states and the RECs while we are doing the compilation, the development of the monitoring and reporting framework for the POA. This is to make sure that we don't have multiple reporting platforms where member states have to report on different platforms, but on the same frameworks. And so the indicators were developed, and as of, they were, like Amjad has already said, they were added to the Sendai Framework Monitor in July 2021. So the indicators included there are the ones that are supposed to be reported on by the member states. Okay, so in terms of the contribution of the Sendai, the original module of the Sendai Framework Monitor, it's part of the operationalization of the monitoring and reporting framework for the POA, because it is the POA requires that we develop a monitoring and reporting framework and report on the 5 additional targets every 2 years. So this is part of the operationalization in terms of the tools to make sure that we do the reporting, and specifically, it is supporting or facilitating the biennial report for DRR in terms of the 5 additional targets of the POA. And the other contribution that this module is going to make, like I've already indicated earlier on, is to ease the reporting. There will be one platform where member states can report for both regional as well as global targets. And then the other benefit is the accessibility of reports. Sometimes reports are produced and they are uploaded in different websites, or they are posted, or they take time, and sometimes they are disseminated during a meeting. And some member states may not have access to those reports at the same time. So uploading those documents in the Sendai Framework module, the regional component, is going to assist in terms of the key frameworks for reference, and also the biennial reports will also be uploaded there to help the member states to track their progress over some time. And then, like Amjad has said, the reporting is improving in the Sendai Framework Monitor, but still, we are not yet there. We still have a lot of work to do, and we hope by including these regional targets as well, we are going to have more reporting, because this is part of the biennial report, which we have to submit to the AU decision-making bodies every 2 years after validation. So we hope to be encouraged to keep on reporting on DRR in general through this process. Next slide, please. Okay, in terms, okay, in terms of the status, like as Amjad and Diana had already indicated, the module was introduced to member states in July 2019, and some of the member states' focal persons tested the system and gave the feedback in a virtual meeting. And as of 12 November, there is not yet a report on the regional module. And we understand this because it is still new, and we expect to see more reports coming in during the coming months. Then in terms of recommendations, because there is need to accelerate or to intensify or to strengthen reporting on DRR in the African continent, the key recommendation is that member states start entering the data, because the regional module is already ready, and we are compiling the biennial report for 2019 to 2020, and we hope to use the regional module as the main data source for that report. So we are requesting the member states to start entering data as of any time from now. And then it's also recommended that we use SFM for both the global targets and the regional module. And for those who were part of the biennial report, the inaugural biennial report on DRR was compiled for 2015 to 2018, and we did not have a lot of data on this Sendai Framework Monitor, and we had to rely on an online tool that was developed and administered during regional as in REC level workshops. So to avoid having to develop online tools that we use during workshops and then we abandon, we are requesting that now that the platform is running on the Sendai Framework Monitor, we use that and we encourage member states to report to make it easy to compile these reports. And then the other way of accelerating the reporting is to conduct annual data review workshops. This was one of the recommendations of the biennial report. We need to not wait for every 2 years and then we hold a workshop which is very intense and we collect data over a few days and then we wait for another 2 years. So we recommend that we have these annual review workshops. And this will also help to institutionalize the TRR reporting. And the overall recommendation to member states, if we are to see better reporting on TRR in the African continent, is to institutionalize the reporting as well. We don't wait for a particular workshop or a particular deadline. It becomes part of the system at national level. And this regional module is going to help because the data entry is continuous. You can enter the data any day. You don't have to do it at a workshop. And then the other recommendation is the inclusion of REC level indicators in the SFM. This is still under consideration, and I would like to reiterate this recommendation because it will even make it more easier to report on TRR in one platform from national to regional to Africa to global. And our biennial report composition is there's a continental report and a set of reports for RECs. So each REC, if it has specific indicators, they can be included there. And then the report, it incorporates everything from member states up to global. So this is one of the recommendations. And this will also ease the reporting on TRR. In terms of the way forward, like I indicated, the 2019 to 2020 biennial report is being compiled, and member states are encouraged to start entering data on this regional module as soon as they can. And then I can hardly see the text there. Okay. So the data collection will continue from this coming month up to maybe first quarter of the year. AUC is going to advise on the actual days there, but the data collection can start because the regional module is open. It's not waiting for the starting of the regional REC meetings. And then after the drafting and the data collection, there is a validation of the biennial report, which is through a workshop attended by member states and REC focal persons and experts. And then after this, the report is presented to the AU decision-making bodies for endorsement. And after the endorsement, that is when the report gets published. And I'm sure some people have seen already the previous report. So these are the next steps and the usual steps for the compilation of the biennial report. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you very much, Nomsa, for this complementary presentation on the 5 additional targets and the regional reporting, which is very, very important, as you have mentioned, because it fits importantly to the biennial report that the African Union prepares. So we joined you and on behalf of UNDRR to invite member states to continue and accelerate the reporting on the global targets, but also to start as soon as possible the reporting in the regional module of the Sendai Framework Monitor. And we are together with African Union, with all the member states to support this process. So thank you again, Nomsa, for this presentation. And I will move to our second part, if I can say it like this, of this panel. So we have heard from partners about progress made by member states towards the reporting process, and also what are the efforts at the regional level to standardize the targets and the reporting process. But we have also heard about the needs to continue to make these efforts to have more data. And as Amjad was mentioning, there's going to be in December a more in-depth discussion on how to use the data for decision making. So we have a lot of homework. There is a lot of fronts and very interesting actions that the reporting process generates. But now I will invite you to focus on the experience of two countries who have worked a lot on collecting and collating disaster data for the Sendai Framework Monitor process and for other risk information process. I am pleased to introduce a video recording from Cameroon, from our colleagues Jean-Pierre Minkoulou and Yolande Ella, that you can see that they are today with us. Jean-Pierre Minkoulou is an IT engineer from Cameroon, working together with the Civil Protection, and has been working on developing a disaster data collection app for Cameroon aligned with the Sendai Framework targets and indicators. So I would suggest we play the video, and then Yolande and Jean-Pierre can complement with some of their experiences with this work that is very interesting going on in Cameroon. So we will see the video now. Thank you.
Bonjour à tous. Il nous a été demandé de vous faire une présentation sur la nouvelle application Crisis que nous avons mis en place au Cameroun pour la collecte de données sur la gestion des risques et catastrophes. Pour faire cette présentation, je suis avec mademoiselle Ella Yolande. Donc, le système de collecte de données sur les risques et catastrophes Mon exposé va s'articuler autour de 2 points. Donc, le premier point va concerner le contexte de la mise en œuvre et le second point, nous allons passer à la présentation du système. Alors, contexte de mise en œuvre. L'idée de concevoir un tel outil est venue du fait que les situations d'urgence en Afrique en général et au Cameroun, Afrique en miniature en particulier, ont à chaque fois fait ressortir de nos faiblesses dans la collecte de données efficaces relatives aux risques de catastrophes pour faciliter leur prévention et leur gestion afin de mieux se prémunir dans le futur. Ainsi, suite à l'autorisation de Monsieur le ministre de l'Administration territoriale et l'appui de Madame Yap Mariatou, l'actuelle secrétaire générale de l'Organisation internationale de la protection civile, le système dénommé Crisis a vu le jour. C'est un outil composé de 6 modules qui permet de gérer les sinistrés, les personnes déplacées internes et les réfugiés, de recenser et de gérer les moyens de réponse du pays, de gérer les risques de catastrophes, de gérer les systèmes d'alerte, ainsi que de concevoir des fiches de collecte des données. Il faut noter ici que la dite collecte se fait via des terminaux mobiles. Nous allons dans la suite vous présenter notre système, y compris le système mobile qui permet la collecte des données. Alors, système Crisis se compose de 6 modules, comme je vous l'ai dit tantôt. On a le module de gestion des sinistrés, il y a le module des moyens de réponse, il y a le module de gestion des risques, il y a le module de collecte de données, il y a le module de gestion d'alerte et enfin le module de gestion des utilisateurs pour permettre pour permettre de sécuriser un peu l'application par rapport aux informations. Alors, la gestion des dossiers, après avoir sélectionné la date dans laquelle les dossiers sont déposés, de pouvoir, je rafraîchis un peu l'application. D'accord. Donc, je disais, le système de gestion des sinistrés permet, après avoir validé la date, l'année de gestion, de pouvoir gérer les demandes, les sinistrés et d'enregistrer tous ceux qui ont tous ceux qui sont sinistrés, y compris les déplacés internes. Ensuite, nous avons le deuxième module, la gestion des moyens de réponse. Ce module permet d'enregistrer tous les moyens de réponse d'un État, y compris les hôpitaux, les abris, les différents abris, les aéroports, les aéronefs, la gestion des infrastructures, des immobilisations, tout, et cela, y compris les ports, j'en ai oublié, et tout cela est présenté sous forme de cadre. Cela permet à ce que lors d'une intervention, qu'on puisse par simple clic sur par simple choix, on peut savoir à quel niveau il y a l'entrepôt de données, ainsi de suite, l'entrepôt de matériel pour pouvoir transporter. Par simple clic, on pourrait savoir à quel niveau l'hôpital se trouve avec le cas de sinistre qui a été déclaré. Ainsi, on peut avoir toute l'information du pays, toute la capacité d'intervention du pays dans l'application. Ensuite, nous avons le module de gestion des risques en lui-même. Il permet à ce niveau de recenser tous les risques qui peuvent survenir sur le territoire national et de pouvoir, à chaque risque, en cas de déclaration, relever des événements qui ont eu lieu et pouvoir faire des requêtes de la position statistique pour faire des simulations et faire des rapports au niveau de la hiérarchie. Ensuite, nous avons le module de gestion des alertes qui permet à ce que, en cas de sinistre, le personnel, les volontaires étant déjà enregistrés dans l'application, d'envoyer des SMS ou bien des mails à ces personnels-là en cas de catastrophe ou en cas de crise ou bien d'urgence humanitaire. Ensuite, nous avons le module de gestion des collectes qui permet à ce que nous pouvons concevoir des formulaires de collecte de données selon que nous voulons, selon l'information que nous avons. Donc, lorsque ces fiches sont conçus, ils sont enregistrés dans l'application et peuvent être utilisés à travers le téléphone portable. Alors, ici, je vous présente un peu l'application qui fonctionne au niveau du téléphone portable. Les formulaires que nous avons conçus dans le système peuvent être téléchargeables sur le téléphone portable. Par exemple, nous avons les différents formulaires EZECA. Lorsqu'il y a eu la catastrophe des EZECA, le train qui avait déraillé, on pouvait là-bas recenser tous les décès. Par exemple, concernant l'application Sendai Monitor, nous avons là, par exemple, la cible A que nous avons intégrée dans l'application. Si nous ouvrons, vous voyez que là, nous pouvons collecter les données directement sur le terrain. Les années, on peut les marquer là, ainsi de suite. À la fin, les sources, les dangers. À la fin, le formulaire est sauvegardé dans le téléphone. Alors, lorsque le formulaire est sauvegardé dans le téléphone, cela permet à tout moment, même cette application fonctionne même sans réseau, sans connexion Internet. Dès que les données sont sauvegardées, dès qu'on arrive là où il y a la connexion Internet, il suffit seulement de les renvoyer au niveau du serveur et l'équipe en place, l'équipe d'information en place, vont maintenant ressortir ces données, les traiter et pouvoir renseigner l'application Sendai Monitor. Et la gestion des utilisateurs permet juste de créer des différents utilisateurs, parce qu'il faut dire que l'application peut fonctionner au niveau des communes, au niveau départemental, au niveau régional et au niveau national pour pouvoir gérer ensemble la gestion des risques et des catastrophes au niveau national. Voilà à peu près présenter les différents modules de l'application. Sur ce, merci de votre bienveillante attention.
I would suggest if Yolande or Jean-Pierre would like to add some final comments to the effort that they are doing to develop this app and how important it is for the data collection process, and maybe some of the challenges that you have also been facing. We have seen some questions on challenges in the chat, so maybe you can give us a little bit of sense of those.
Merci.
Jean-Pierre,
oui, Yolande va présenter tout à l'heure les difficultés. Je voulais peut-être interagir, ajouter au niveau des éléments clés, pour mettre en place, construire un tel système. Il faut dire qu'ici, on peut relever 3 éléments clés, à savoir identifier les données de collecte issues de chaque secteur en prenant en compte les indicateurs des 7 objectifs mondiaux et ceux qui intéressent chaque secteur. Parce qu'il faut le dire également, au niveau du pays, il y a certains indicateurs que les différents secteurs peuvent utiliser pour leur politique de fonctionnement. Alors, en plus de ça, on a Ensuite, on choisit une technologie où on va développer l'outil, c'est-à-dire technologie web et mobile. Parce qu'ici, il faudra faciliter la tâche à la collecte via les smartphones ou les téléphones portables. Il faut dire qu'en Afrique, la plupart des zones ne sont pas couvertes par la connexion Internet, ainsi de suite. Mais avec les téléphones portables, c'est plus facile. Donc, il faut mettre en place des outils qui sont faciles à utiliser à travers les téléphones portables. Même dans les zones rurales, ils peuvent collecter les données, des informations en cas de décès, ainsi de suite, et les envoyer. Enfin, il faut former les points focaux dans chaque secteur d'activité. Parce qu'il est difficile pour quelqu'un qui est au ministère de l'administration territoriale d'aller collecter les données dans un hôpital pour avoir la capacité d'intervention de cet hôpital. Mais s'il y a un point focal au niveau du ministère de la Santé, c'est facile pour lui de collecter les données et de nous renvoyer au niveau du ministère. Maintenant, je veux passer la parole à Yolande pour nous présenter quand même les difficultés, parce que tout ceci ne peut pas se faire sans difficulté.
Merci beaucoup, Jean-Pierre. Yolande, 1 minute, s'il te plaît, pour...
Oui, merci Diane de nous passer la parole. Comme pour toute application, nous avons eu des difficultés à héberger ce système. Et dans sa mise en place, nous n'avons pas encore plus les moyens nécessaires, faute des ressources pour héberger ce système au niveau du ministère de l'administration territoriale. Donc, c'est la difficulté que nous avons. Et la deuxième difficulté, c'est que le Cameroun n'a pas encore de stratégie nationale de réduction des risques de catastrophe. Nous sommes obligés de faire la collecte à travers les points focaux de l'Observatoire national des risques, donc qui n'englobe pas forcément tous les secteurs. C'est des points focaux qui sont dans les 10 régions et qui ont toutes les informations des autres secteurs. Donc, c'est des difficultés, alors qu'avec la stratégie, tous les secteurs sont là. C'est les difficultés que nous avons. Nous vous remercions.
It's me who, as UNDRR and African Union, who thank you for sharing this experience with us, and also for highlighting some of the challenges that this process of data collection entails. Thank you very much again, Yolande and Jean-Pierre. Up next, we have Mrs. Anne Brewer, who serves as Chief Director, Legislation and Policy Management and SFM Focal Point at the National Disaster Management Center in South Africa. South Africa has been working on collating data on past disasters from 2005 to 2014 to build the SFM baseline data. In addition, The National Disaster Management Center has also been working on enhancing coordination with other sectors to collect data and meet the SFN milestones. I think Yolande mentioned this challenge of coordination and the importance of having a regulatory and a strategic framework to support the data collection. I think Mrs. Brewer will touch upon some of these points and all other experiences that she would like to share with us in terms of the key elements of collecting this data for risk-informed and also tracking the impact of past disasters. Mrs. Brewer, thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the opportunity and greetings from South Africa. It is a privilege for me to share some of the experience from South Africa in our data collection processes to build the SFM baseline, and also, to mention some of the key elements that we need to build a system and improve data collection for the future. So in 2010, South Africa has adopted an outcomes approach where planning starts from the outcome we need to achieve, and then identifying the outputs, the activities and inputs that we needed. The approach is therefore focused on results. So in terms of the national disaster loss reporting, the outputs will be to establish a national disaster loss database for the country and report on disaster management program performance, and also reporting on the implementation of the targets. Ultimately, what we want to achieve as an outcome is substantial reduction of disaster losses in lives, in the social, economic and environmental assets and communities, and the impact is aligned with the goal of the Sendai framework to prevent new and reduce existing disaster risk. So this is basically the approach that we have been following. The key challenges to report on Sendai framework, we have quite a number of them in this process. We actually do not have a central national disaster loss database at the moment, and therefore we have an inability to comprehensively record, manage and report on both the historical as well as the current data losses and damages. There is a lot of information available, but it is fragmented, and there are pockets of information, across sectors and with different data custodians, and there's not a proper system that basically helps us to have this database available. And furthermore, the data and information about losses and damages from disasters are not systematically recorded. So that results in and causes poor understanding of emerging patterns and trends about disaster risks, and thus disabling this targeted action and contribution to developmental processes. So I think you have gathered that we're trying to say that our focus is not only in trying to report on Sendai, but also to improve the whole system of disaster management in the country by also being able to look at trends and look at initiatives that we can introduce disaster risk reduction programs and so on. So just to mention, we do have quite a lot of information, as I've indicated, in fragmented pockets of information. We have a basic situation reporting system. We've got reports in terms of our legislation, damage assessment reports. We have a database on declared disasters and things like that. And we also rely on information from our South African weather services and MDAT data. But as indicated, it is not centralized in a national loss database. So just to continue, please, next slide, sorry. The clicker. So just to indicate in terms of what we already have in place, South Africa has a comprehensive set of legislation, and we have a Disaster Management Act and also a framework that actually stipulates that the National Disaster Management Center must be a repository of information and also a conduit of information. So it already gives us that enabling environment, to get data and information from different sources. In terms of target A and B, what we have done, to report is we have relied on our relationships and networks through our disaster management structures that we to identify existing data and to get information to report on, and also specifically on target F, we negotiate with our National Treasury Department that has information in terms of international support for disaster management and other programs. Currently, disaster management programs are not clearly identified. It is basically part of other programs like, environment and things like that, where there is international support. So, but that is our main source of information with regards to that. In terms of target E, we managed to also use Survey 123 tools with our municipalities and provinces to get information in terms of strategies and programs that are existing. And we, as a one of our operational projects in the Disaster Management Center, have regular compliance verification programs. And we use that to also get the information from our provinces and municipalities. So what we still need to achieve is to develop that central database that I have mentioned. And then also in terms of data management and system development, we still have a far way to go. You can do the next slide, please. So those are the things that are still outstanding. And so in terms of our envisaged solution, we have initiated a project to develop a South African national disaster loss, damage and knowledge database system. And that will also include an app, as our previous speaker has also given us some good examples of that. We would like to also share some knowledge around developing the application. And the system will enable the national sector and its stakeholders to collate, store, and share both historical as well as current data in a very easy way, and that within a secure environment. The proposed solution is then expected to create a solid platform for South Africa to enhance current processes of reporting on Sendai framework, and also, to help us to report better in terms of our programs and projects. So we see the success pillars for this as people, technology, and processes, where the interaction between people and technology enables innovation. The interaction between people and processes allows us the scalability, and the interaction between technology and processes will enhance the automation of this process. So we are very much looking forward to this and eventually achieving the outcome of a substantial reduction of disaster losses, and also to have a great impact of preventing new and reducing existing disaster risk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Brewer. And I think it's a catchy reminder on people, technology, and processes, and all this summarizes very well all the work in data. We have some comments in the chat welcoming and congratulating Cameroon and South Africa for the work that is being undertaken. There are some interest in knowing more on the processes and how the different systems are put together. There is curiosity on how you manage to put all these different databases in one centralized system. So I think Jean-Pierre and Yolande and Anne, there is going to be a follow-up on exchange of experiences on this particular topic. I think we are a little bit more close to wrapping up. There are some questions in the chat in terms of the challenges in data collection, why we see from Amjad's presentation that there are still some countries in the region that have not started or that do not report. What could be the challenges and why this happens? There is also some concerns on how the COVID-19 situation has influenced and impacted the data collection process when we cannot go to the field to collect the data, or we cannot have inter-stakeholder coordination to collect the data. Maybe this has influenced that the reporting has got a little bit stuck in this year, which I think is understandable. And there is also some questions on the importance of the data validation for the POA report and the biannual report of the African Union. So how the fact that some of the data is not validated can influence the quality of the report. So I think we have 3 minutes to close. So what I would suggest is that we capture these questions and we reach out to the speakers maybe after the session to prepare some answers to this in the final report of this panelists. But if there is maybe one speaker that would like to complement or respond to some of these challenges, complementing what has been said, please go ahead and we can close the session. Okay, I think that precisely these points have been raised through the presentation, so maybe it's too short to develop further, but I would like just to thank all the speakers and all the member states and all the participants that have joined this session. I think the discussion will continue, as always, through the UNDRR SFM exchange of experiences and also the upcoming events that have been presented here, and all the spaces that we can have to continue the discussion on data collection and reporting process. So thank you all, and we can call for the day for the SFM session. Thanks a lot.